Howdy folks, how here's going. I'm about to sit down and have a taster on this Ethiopean black barley ale, which was brewed back before Chrissy. And I said this is what I've done using the King-Keg 10 litre fermenter, and then transferred it into the keg, well, the King-Keg portable 10 litre keg. And so this one's designed for, so you can take it to parties and things like that. Instead of taking your bottles or cans or whatever it is. This one's nice and light, not having to drag around a steel 9.5 litre keg. This one will take basically the equivalent of a carton of beer, and it's nice and easy to carry. One hand, boom, off you go, and you don't need much equipment to go with it. So just quickly before we get into it, shout out to the Little John's Patreons. Guys, thanks for your support. It's linked down the bottom if you're interested. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button as well. If you are subscribed, good for you. Thumbs up from me to you. Give me a thumbs up back if you like what's going on. So this keg is set up so you can run with either like a soda stream bottle running onto the gas, and then a simple you can get a compact tap set up and put a normal rumby type tap on there. I'm going to run with today with just some line and the old picnic tap, American college sort of stuff, because that's what I've got here. I wasn't going to spend, because the kit that comes with this comes with a flow control tap, obviously, because you've got no line to work with, you've got little resistance, so you need a flow control tap, ideally. This isn't going to give me much resistance. I'm expecting I'm going to get a little bit of foam, but that's all right. We can deal with that. I fermented this without pressure. I stuck pressure on this about a week ago before I went down the coast. This has just been sitting in the brewery, down on the floor. Let's bring it up. I had the recipe here. It's bloody the laptop's gone to sleep on me. It's disappeared. Where'd it go? And so it's been sitting warm since it's been fermented. I purged the keg, and that was about it. Put a little bit of gas in it. But what I did before I went away to Wollongong a week ago is I stuck about 30 psi pressure into the headspace. Not even been 40. And I've stuck this in the fridge cold. So I've got down the drinking temp, and I'm hoping it's pulled CO2 into the liquid enough that we can get a carbonated drink to do this taster. So the beer's 100% black barley. We'll talk about the hops in a little bit. Let's see if we can get this going. So that's it. I'm hoping I can pour just off the pressure in the keg without having to do anything else. Okay, I don't seem to have any beer coming just there at the moment, so maybe we're going to need to put some pressure in there. Oh no, we got flow. All good. Righto. Well, let's get a pour. Now, I'm expecting that to be frothy, and so that's no great surprise. And it is a consequence of using the picnic tap. You do get a little bit more froth, so I would imagine that using the flow control tap you can probably slow that flow down. This is pretty quick. These are far from ideal. They work, but it's certainly not the best option. So your flow control tap's going to really slow that flow down, control the foaming. But for the moment, the beer's definitely carbonated, so that's good. We're getting some off, so that's it. At the moment, just running off that pressure that's in there. That's not going to last for too long before you need to put some pressure on. I'm not worried about that because this is going to end up in the keg fridge on tap, so I don't need to worry too much about it. But you can get the little mini regulator and the new soda bowls. Gives the CO2 charges to dispense. I'd certainly recommend doing as I've done here and getting pressure into the keg prior, so you're not using, well, you're not going to use that CO2 to carbonate. You can pressure ferment before going in, that's not an issue, or do as I do, hit it with a whack of CO2, and it's not quite a force carb, but it's sort of similar. But anyway, we've got a bit of a pour there. Let's just let it sit for a little bit. So again, this was given to me by Keg King, along with the 10 litre fermenter, for me to try out and see how it went, and yeah, pop out the video on how she went. So the first batch out of this keg, I could not take it to a party, but it's clearly working. Yeah, as it should. It was a decent tap. I think you're going to get a better pour. The reality is, if you're at a party, these are only a free 160ml glass. If you're pouring a schooner, you're going to get a reasonable glass on that. And as this pressure settles a little bit, I would imagine that pour will get a little bit better. I really don't want to talk to anybody from bloody Hobart, so. And in there. I think we're going to be pretty well right to drink that once we get there. Yeah, so I think this is a great little setup. Now, pick it up one end. You can attach your gas head, your tap, and you can just carry it where you're going. If you're using the SodaStream bottle, then you're going to need to carry that separately. But realistically, I would imagine if you're going to a party with this keg, with the mini reg and the CO2 charges, I think you'd probably get away with sticking one or two spare ones in your pocket. I'm not sure exactly how much they dispense, but I think from reading that you probably need about 2 to dispense this whole keg. So you can carry your beer supply for a party, one hand into the party. So you can carry your keg in one hand, and carry your bag of snags and fucking salads in the other hand. Yeah, what's wrong? Nothing wrong with that. Anyway, let's get to the beer. Ethiopean black barley, 100% of the brew, 2 kilos. It was look for an 8 litre volume. I think I got about a little bit more than that, and got about 8 litres into here. We've got sativa at 30 minutes in the boil, a bit of sequoia. So sativa's for 15 IBU, sequoia for 9 IBU at 10 minutes. And then a hop stand with sativa for 5 and sequoia for 5 IBU each for 20 minutes. So all up we've got 34 IBU. Original gravity was 1042. It finished at finished at 1012 for an ABV of 3.9%. So she's a little light. It finished a little higher than I expected. I was aiming for it to finish around 1010, maybe even 1009. Used Bluestone Michigan yeast in the starter. No, it might have just been pitched directly from the package. So I think the actual barley itself has finished a little bit higher, and that's just possibly a characteristic of that grain. It may be a little bit heavier on non-fermentable sugars. And it's got a the nose is somewhat reminiscent of a wheat beer, of a wheat. It's got almost a little bit of bubblegum character. But it's not bubblegum. I mean, it may be coming from the yeast. But nice little malt note. They're not really getting a great amount of hops. And the bubblegum, I mean, it could be coming from the hops. Like, it's not full-on bubblegum. But yeah, as for now, okay, she poured a lot ahead, but it's holding reasonably well there at the moment. We've got good carbonation. Okay, it's got a little bit of that wheat tartness on the edge. There's a fairly clean maltish flavour going on, which has got quite a bit of, it's sort of a mix of grain and biscuit. It's not one or the other. It's sort of a little bit of halfway. It's a little grainy, a little bit biscuity. Sort of not as biscuity as, say, like you're going to get when you with a nice Hell's Lager or something like that, where that biscuit note is quite distinct, and it's not same thing. It's not a distinct grain, but they're both sort of just there. So yeah, it's quite a unique sort of a flavour. Like I said, it's leaning a little bit onto the tart side, with almost a little bit of sourness. Now, and this is, I picked this when I very first sampled this when it was done. That had that grainy edge, and it was quite noticeable, and it continues to be. So you get a feeling quite reminiscent of a Weiss or a wheat beer. So it's certainly not as clean as a traditional ale malt, as a traditional base, but it's certainly got some character. On its own, it's quite possible. I think this would be I think it's a grain and a malt flavour that I think would be quite cause some disparity. You're going to get some people are going to like it. I think you get some people that aren't going to like what that character is doing. Just the same as a lot of people don't like wheat beers because of that tartness and that sort of edge. And I think because it's pushing that way, I think it's the same thing. I think you'd find people that aren't going to like what this malt brings to a beer. For me, I find it quite nice. It's quite interesting. Like I said, it's not clean. It's not a clean. So if you put this into, say, a lager on its own, it's not going to have that cleanness that you'd really be looking for. But I think as a proportion of the grist in a lager, I think you get some nice interesting character. Somewhere around 20 or 30% of that with a nice Pilsner malt. And I think you just pick up some nice little grainy notes on the edge. Just to give some nice character. With the hops, there's 34 IBU of hop there. It's not a massive amount of hops, and the sativa and the sequoia are both very delicate. They're generally, for me, they're a delicate kind of hop. They're not big flavoured hops, unless you're really pushing them hard. I've found them to be two hops they're nice. They've got lovely gentle flavours, and they really work really well in a light, simple, lager or an ale. And here, they're just not really having any big impact on the beer, but they're just sitting there backing everything up, just sort of tying everything together. There's a little bit of fruit, a little bit of, even like a little touch of dank, which I think comes from the sequoia. It's not a lot, but it does have a little touch of dank, and then some very light fruit on the back. Citrusy, stone fruit edge. And the sativa just tends to be, it runs just clean, with a fairly neutral sort of a flavour, but just provides that nice little bit of bitterness and hop edge that you need to support your malts. And here, again, they're working really well. So overall, I'm really happy with this beer. For the first time, not knowing what it was going to do, there were some questions about how it was going to go. It's still really hard to get your head around the fact that this is basically a black grain. Now, it's called black because the husk has black colour, but it's not completely black. It's not like a roast barley, or a black malt. It's not completely black. There is still lightness through the husk, but a large part of the husk is quite black. So you look at it expecting you're going to get a sort of dark result in some of those typical dark sort of characters, and you don't get them. So I think it's an interesting grain from the fact that it's different, it's unique. You don't see it. It's got some heritage. It's got some history coming from Ethiopia. So it's a little bit, it's old world. It's very, got some historical significance. It's great that they've brought it back, and it's now available for people to use. I don't think it's ever going to catch on as a highly sought after malt. I don't think we're going to suddenly see beers en masse being made with this sort of grain. There's also a purple variety which is Tibetan, which has the same sort of effect, but it's more of a purple husk than a black. And I think I'm going to try one more play around that at some point during the year and see how it travels. But this is certainly a grain I think I'm going to play with a little bit more. I said I think I can incorporate this into a lager recipe, or even into like a pale ale recipe. I think that grainy, biscuity sort of note does tend itself to a nice base for a pale ale. So they're getting some hops in there with a bit more impact and some more character to go with that. But as it is, this has worked quite well. I'll try to remember to link the recipe down the bottom. I think if you go back to Brew Day, I think the recipe is probably linked up there. And I've said it again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. If you're looking for you know, a simple hop combinations that aren't your traditional, that work really nice and easy. Look at Sativa and Sequoia. They're both really good hops. On their own, they work really nicely together. They pair up really well. I think the yeast, it's hard to say what this Bluestone yeast has done in this, and I knew doing it that this was probably not the best beer to use that on as my first go with it, because it's hard to really say what the yeast is doing, given, you know, didn't know what they expect with the malts and the grain flavour. So I will be using it. I've kept a couple of, I've washed it and I've kept a few bottles, a few jars. So that's something I've been playing around with that again on a more traditional sort of a brew, so I can can sort of get a bit of an idea of how it performs. Because I think a few people are probably interested in seeing how the Bluestone does go. You know, it's great. We've got an Australian, yeah, manufacturer of yeast. They're a good yeast number pack when they're fresh. So if we can get more people using, you know, a local liquid yeast, that's great. If we can encourage that company to, you know, get a little bit bigger and have a few more strains. I think at the moment they've got about maybe 4 ale strains, maybe 2, maybe 3 lager strains, and I think 1 or 2, yeah, Kvike and specialties. But I think if we can get, home brewers using them more, I encourage them to spread their range a little bit further. But yeah, I said that's going to be down the track a little bit further. So overall, black barley, certainly I think worth having a look at if you're home brewing. You like a little bit of playing around, you don't mind trying something a bit different. It's going to get you some flavours that honestly I think are unique. They're not flavours, I can't think of any other grain I could use to replicate that sort of flavour. So you can get something, you know, very, very specific and unique to your own brewery by doing it. The King-Keg setup from Keg King gets thumbs up from me. The system worked really well, worked really easy, no problem at all. From, you know, the small batch, the easy ferment, simple process and transfer with, you know, using pressure. And then this is just easy to serve, and this is going to go to parties with you really easily. With not a big outlay to get the bits and pieces you need to set it up. So yeah, good stuff. Get on the Keg King. I'll stick some links down the bottom to this stuff and also the grain. But the black barley is from Voyager. So again, it's locally grown, locally sourced, locally malted, which everything here is all Australian made, which is, you know, brilliant. So guys, that's it. Got any comments, any questions, stick them down the bottom. But for now, thanks for watching. I'm done. So till I see you again, brewing beer, drinking beer or talking beer, good brewing.